Have you ever just looked around at all the global problems we're facing and felt like our solutions are, well, just not cutting it? Like we're putting bandages on massive wounds. Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea from the philosopher Vanessa Andreotti that might completely change the way you see our world. And this quote right here, it gets straight to the heart of the problem. Andreotti says we're basically trained to look for these quick fixes, the ones that make us feel like we're doing something good, you know? But she argues that this very impulse is actually a trap. It keeps us from seeing the much deeper, invisible system that's causing all the trouble in the first place. So to help us see this invisible system, she gives us this brilliant metaphor. Picture a house. This house is what she calls modernity. It's the whole shebang, our global economic system, our ways of thinking, our politics, everything we've built our world on. And, well, if you look closely, this house is starting to show some serious cracks. Okay, so before we can even think about what to do with this crumbling house, we kind of need to understand how it was built, right? Let's take a quick tour of its architecture. What is this thing actually made of?
The whole thing, and I mean everything, rests on one single massive idea for a foundation: separability. It's this deep-seated belief that we humans are fundamentally separate from, and superior to, the natural world. This one belief changes everything. It's what allows us to treat the planet like a warehouse of resources. And it doesn't just create a hierarchy between us and nature, it creates them between different groups of people, too.
So with that foundation, you need walls to hold the place up. The first wall is the modern nation-state, a system that, let's be honest, is often set up to protect property and capital way more than people or the planet. And the other wall? That's what Andreotti calls universal reason. It's the assumption that there's really only one right way to live, one valid story of progress, and that has the effect of silencing countless other ways of knowing and being in the world.
And then, what's the roof on this house?
It's our current version of global capitalism. It's a system that is designed, at its core, to optimize for one thing and one thing only: profit. This creates a kind of global anonymity, where it becomes almost impossible to hold anyone or anything accountable for all the damage that it causes. So what does a house built like this actually look like on the inside? Well, it creates this really stark division. Up at the top, you've got a penthouse, a place of unbelievable overconsumption and comfort. But here's the catch. That penthouse is only possible because the whole system is designed to pump its waste somewhere else, creating what you could call a sewage level of hardship and dispossession for so many others. So you have to wonder, right? How does a house with so many cracks stay standing? Andreotti says it's held together by 4 huge denials that our society actually rewards us for. We deny our own complicity in the systems that bring us our comforts. We deny that infinite growth can happen on a finite planet. We deny that we're actually deeply entangled with the living world around us. And maybe biggest of all, we deny the sheer scale of the mess we're in.
Now, once you see the cracks in the house, your first instinct is probably to grab a sledgehammer, right? To fight back. But this is where Andreotti's thinking gets really interesting, because she says, what if that's a trap? She asks us to switch metaphors for a second. Imagine modernity isn't a house, but a giant, sick dragon breathing fire everywhere. The hero's journey tells us to grab a sword and slay the beast. But here's the twist. Andreotti says, the moment you try to fight the dragon on its own terms, with its own tools of violence and domination, you just become another dragon. You end up feeding the very cycle you wanted to stop. And that, of course, leaves us with a massive question. If fighting the system just makes us part of the problem, what's the alternative? How in the world do you heal a sick dragon instead of just trying to kill it?
This is where Andreotti introduces her most radical and maybe her most powerful idea. She suggests we don't need to save the system, and we don't need to fight it. We need to hospice it. Hospicing modernity. What does that even mean? It means we start treating our crumbling system like a patient in palliative care. We stop trying to frantically fix it, and we stop trying to violently tear it down. Instead, we provide end-of-life care. We start disinvesting from its empty promises. We learn everything we can from its failures, and we patiently start composting its toxic parts to enrich the soil for whatever might grow next. And just look at the difference in mindset here. The fighting mindset is all about achieving victory, about demolishing the enemy. But the hospicing mindset, the goal is learning. The action is composting. It's a massive shift from trying to wage a war to patiently tending a transition. From thinking we know what progress looks like to opening up to new possibilities.
Okay, so this all sounds incredibly profound. But what does this work of hospicing actually look like in practice? Well, it's not just about what we do out there in the world. It actually demands a huge amount of inner work from each of us. Andrade gives us a kind of compass to guide this inner journey. The first direction is emotional sobriety, which is about weaning ourselves off the need for simple feel-good answers. Next is relational maturity, really truly grasping our deep interconnectedness with each other and the planet. Then there's intellectual discernment, the ability to sit with complexity and paradox without needing to rush to a simple conclusion. And finally, intergenerational responsibility, a deep, profound commitment to the future of all life. So ultimately, this isn't just some abstract intellectual exercise. It's about developing the inner fortitude, or as Andreotti puts it, the stomach, to look our realities square in the face, with all its complexity and pain, without freaking out, lashing out, or just giving up entirely. And that brings us to the final, really powerful question this whole idea leaves us with. What if you knew, deep down in your bones, that the way we're living right now just isn't viable, that its promises are hollow and its time is running out? What would you do differently, starting today?